Hey there. Okay. Um, it's Saturday morning, and here in the United States, um, flying's really tough right now. I encourage you not to fly if it's unless it's absolutely necessary. They're offering a lot of refunds and trying to rebook you, but they'll give you your money back. They didn't used to be like that. It was like pulling teeth to try to get a refund from an airline. They were really stingy about that. Um, the government shutdown has been going on, and they want to blame it on Trump. It's not Trump. Just know that. There's a lot of lies being said about what's going on. Um, this left and right, you see fake news all the time on the left and the right. And once again, people are in the food chain. They didn't know God was real, and they we become a Stepford. You get reincarnated, you have amnesia, you don't remember your past lives, and how important it is to get balanced and go vegan. You don't eat meat, you don't eat seafood. But flight delays are out there, and they're crazy. So I encourage you not to fly unless you absolutely have to. Someone earlier was saying, I hate my job, I hate my job. I'm telepathic. I hear dialogue, questions, things like that. And I said, change your life on the outside then, because that job will change. Don't be afraid of AI at all, because you're going to get a nice big break, and the money system will be supplemented then through AI. Just get that straight. So don't be afraid of it. A good example is I like vegan burgers, and I went to Carl's Jr. And Burger King has a vegan Impossible Whopper too. They're really good. Carl's Jr. has one, and it was AI that was taking my order. They got it perfect, because half the time, you go and they don't get it right. There's a language barrier. And I was really impressed, with everything. I mean, just don't be afraid of it. Do not be afraid of AI. Okay? There's some cool apps you can download that show you AI, including Snapchat, Grok, and also it's like GROK, and then Gemini. You can completely remake photos. You can just say, I want to look like I'm sitting on a beach, and I have blonde hair, and I have blue eyes, and I have this and that. And before you know it, they can transform your photo. Change your life on the outside of your job then, and you'll see your job will change in a good way. I used to work for the airlines. I was a flight attendant for a while, and back then it was during deregulation, and it was weird. And we were I worked for Continental, and I remember I was on a layover in Dallas, and American crew was there, and they were making fun of us. They thought they were better than Continental, American. And your strong carriers are American, United, Southwest, and I don't remember what the fourth one is, the big carriers. But the government shut down, and the federal people are getting laid off. They're getting revamped. They're putting in and upgrading the systems. So don't be afraid of the AI. I told you when I went to work at Whole Foods, and I was getting trained just to be a shopper for, Uber Eats or Instacart, whoever's ordering. They put you through the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. And it was, they want us to all take tests instead of just on-the-job training. It was ridiculous, sitting down in front of a computer. And every time the trainer would walk out, the shit wouldn't work. It was really frustrating. I didn't continue working for him. That, among other reasons. I want you to vote for me. I entered a Fab Over 40 contest. And just type in Fab Over 40. Try to find me under Alicia. And you'll see my posts and my pictures and stuff. And I'm putting it out there for you to vote for me. I'm in the top 10 of my group, which I don't know what that means, but going back to fake news, you'll see an article on Trump doing the government shutdown, then you'll see an article here where he didn't do it. So the truth is he didn't do this. He doesn't even take a salary for his job, his role as a president. I support ceasefire and getting along with your neighbors, so I'm a supporter of that and world peace. I would like to see them talk more about going plant-based eating and closing down all these slaughterhouses and chicken feeds and things like that. You'll change your health big time if you go plant-based. Before I went plant-based, though, I was into self-healing, and I started using micronutrients like magnesium and zinc and probiotics and things like that. And I got rid of all my hip pain and lockjaw and anxiety even. And then going vegan was the next step. And I just kept being shown and shown and shown this was wrong, what I was doing personally. You have to uncensor yourself, and I was going to talk about that. When you uncensor yourself, you just let the spirits do the things you're wanting to do. For instance, let's say you want to draw a picture. You can have an idea, or a rose or a house, and then just don't censor it. Let the hand do the drawing. Don't think. That's the hardest thing not to do. And you'll see, you'll start creating masterpieces and interesting art that you haven't seen before. Same with dancing. You'll say you want to dance 60s, or you want to dance hip hop, or you want to dance reggae or whatever. Same thing, let the spirits come into you, and you'll see you can move. It's a great way to lose weight, to dance. Same with singing. You gotta clear the stuff out of the pipes, but you'll see you have really strong voices. So change your life on the outside of your job, and things will change on the inside. Turn people on to my uploads, Alicia Farner YouTube, Patrice Romero YouTube, and my Facebook, Patrice Romero Facebook Artist. It's important you pass my information out. Stranger danger is very real. It's super real. You can't leave your kids alone. You can't leave them with strangers. And you have to know who's watching your kids and so on, and you too. You go out and try to pick up people, or you flirt, this and that. You don't know who's on the other end of those bodies walking around. There's a lot of abductions going on. I want you to be safe. You're better off being celibate. You're better off doing things where you're at home, and make your home your paradise. Get a home gym. Christmas is coming up, so I'd request a home gym. Start just with a weight bench and weights and a yoga mat. And once again, don't censor yourself. You don't have to do that boring routine where you're keeping track of everything. Just start moving and start working out, and the spirits will come in, and you'll see you're targeting areas you need to target specifically for you. The SNAP benefits did stop temporarily, and they're going to start back up. It's just a matter of time. But a lot of people are really blindsided by this, and that's food stamps. They call it CalFresh in certain places, EBT. And what's frustrating is people that are on Social Security get very little food money, and so their Social Security is going towards paying rent. They're lucky to find a place that cheap. Or their car, things they might have in place, but then their food suffers. And the meanwhile they're trying to heal themselves and so on and so forth. Getting off big pharma is super important. Breaking up with your doctors. First responder care is important still because people are still doing stupid stuff. So we do need people good at first responder type of care. The cops are starting to treat people like trauma victims, not criminals, and that's important. And you got to remember, the state's the one that prosecutes and pursues these charges against you. It's the state. And it's the state that's wrong. And it's outside of the realm of God and love and unity and harmonious living with all of the creatures that are in it, including the animals and the seafood. The coastal towns are hit the hardest because of the hunting and the fishing. And we don't want this for anyone. And it's no one's fault behind the scenes. And you have to get out of these realms. I was reading about a man that used to fish as his living and whaling. He realized they were trying to kill him. He goes, every time I go out, they're trying to kill me. And he realized he had to stop doing it. He was in like Cambodia or somewhere. And he started doing tours instead and creating a good place for him to be and his family. When you watch Moby Dick, you see the Starbucks name mentioned very strongly as the whalers, and they're still, of course, serving meat and things they shouldn't be serving at Starbucks. You can get your vegan items there and go soy or plant-based milks. So keep choosing these options when you're out shopping. And we still want the stores to separate the vegan items from the non-vegan items. It's important you do that for God. Immigration is very real. You got to remember, it's like, okay, you have a system in place and open borders, this and that, and it comes to an overflow. Like, what are we doing with all of this? Where is this going? And we're all becoming expatriates. I looked at moving to another country thinking it was safer in some other places, but I would have been an expatriate, an expat. And they're kicking them out too. They're kicking them out of these countries and not allowing them to run companies and get services and so on. So you have to be careful wanting to leave the country, especially now. When you're telepathic, you hear dialogue of the universe and consciousness and trauma. I can answer questions now just by people asking them inside me. They want to know if I was in the military. I wasn't. I almost joined it in high school. I told my mom I wanted to join, and my dad, and she was really upset. And I joked saying I looked at it as a 2-year weight loss program. But my mom talked me out of it, so I didn't go in. I wanted to join the Army. I felt I needed some type of structure in my life. I wasn't getting it home. And I was a flight attendant for a little over 4 years, back in the late 80s, early 90s. They didn't even, they weren't doing drug testing or anything back then, so a lot of flight attendants were being used as mules to carry drugs back and forth. And then they started drug testing us. So everybody stopped snorting cocaine because it's a terrible drug. Once again, over the counter, off the shelf is really important. You can break up with your health care in a good way. Right now to get on a disability or any type of thing like that, they push hard for you to see a doctor. And don't fight that. Just do it and get your paperwork in order and a diagnosis and start there, and that should put you in the right path. We want this area supplemented, and it will be. A lot of people are going to have a nice vacation. We were always jealous about the Europeans. They would have 3 months off for maternity leave and 3 months off for holiday, and so on. When I worked as a casting director, I worked for myself and my spouse, and I did union and non-union casting, and so Arizona was a right to work state. You could come there, and you had to try out the union players and actors first, give them first priority, but then you didn't have to use them if you didn't want to. So it was right to work state, and they could choose a non-union actor to be in their production, even in a speaking role. And we tried to keep the rates as union as much as we could, but there were always people wanting to do less for more, more for less, that type of thing. I wouldn't do what I did now because I did a lot of commercial casting. What do commercials sell? A lot of crap. Doctors, crap, bad products, just ad placement. It's the worst. Animal killing. The majority is a lot of animal killing. Just find people that want to work together as a group, and you do it all: lighting, hair, makeup. You just take turns doing these different roles, and you have your own little production crew. I remember seeing last week about coming in hard on the homeless and making you go to shelters and getting you off the street. This isn't a bad thing. Especially if you're in a really bad place. I saw a lot of crimes against women when I was homeless. And men, the pimps run the streets. Just get that straight, including on the men. And so you see a lot of homeless men out there too, because they're being controlled by the pimps and the food chain and the cartels and the doctors. And we want to get out of these realms as these people and these invocations of us. So over the counter, off the shelf, you can find everything you need at your local Sprouts or your local Whole Foods even. Or there's pure vegan stores in Hawaii that are really amazing, called Down to Earth. We need vegan playlands, like McDonald's, to take place of those, and good realms. I do smoke and drink. I use marijuana and I drink beer. I like alcohol. I consider it a part of my toolkit. I treat myself like an adult, and I have to be balanced too. And sometimes it's the only way to get out of the telepathic channel. So it helps me, but I can go without it. I'm not going to die or anything. You got to learn how to balance your life, in anything, because everything's a weapon, no matter what. Everything's a weapon. So you have to be careful when you're smoking marijuana. You have to take tiny little riffs. Quit going balls to the wall and everything. It can bite you in the butt. You have a hard time swallowing. So I'd like to see the Trump administration break up with doctors too, in a good way, and get all these people into self-healing, learning about God, the divinity, the Mother, the Father, the Child, the Trinity. And they do talk about God. They get cut off. You'll see there's a lot of fake news out there. There is. Donald Trump doesn't take a salary for being the President of the United States. He did make his money in real estate. I remember as a flight attendant, I think someone left out on the plane the Art of the Deal, and it was talking about a lot of the transactions he did real estate wise, and it was interesting. I found it interesting back then. Have I voted in an election? Yeah, I voted for Obama twice, and then the third one I wrote in Ron Paul. Ron Paul is amazing, and he was a small town doctor, but he's real smart about business, as policing the world, things like that. And he was really against. he was getting into the homeschooling programs and stuff like that, just knowing the public schools are in bad shape. He wanted our country helped, the American people helped, tremendously, and giving them courage to help themselves in good ways, other countries and stuff like that. I have. They're saying, do I like webcamming? Because I do webcam once in a while to make some extra scratch. And you can work from home and go on sites like Chatterbait or ManyVids, or people are really into OnlyFans. There's a lot of social media out there that wasn't around. We didn't even grow up with cell phones. These kids are like this on their phone. They're like 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old. They're really like amazing on the phones and what they can do at young ages. So kids are very different these days than we are. But it's just more a modern take on the same cycle. A lot of people are being hurt in churches. They are. I was talking about my Uncle Johnny. He was in the military back during the Vietnam era, because my dad almost had to go, but he was in college, had 3 girls, and they said he didn't have to go. He was born in 1942. My cousin, Johnny, went. And when he returned, he was born again. So he was now born again, a Jesus lover. And a lot of people are put into this realm of getting out of the Catholic realm. And it was weird to us, we didn't know how to take them. So as you know, Jesus is the Son of God. God's the big Jefe on the planet, and he wants to get back in his body. So I'm going to wrap this up. My TV's loud, and it's all food for thought. All right. Peace out. Be safe out there, man. Love you.